Hello and welcome to another Parallel Project Training podcast, this time on benefits management. These podcasts are linked to the APM PMQ syllabus for exams starting in September 2024. My name's Ruth Phillips and I'm here today with Lisa Regan, one of Parallel's senior project trainers. Hi Lisa.
Hi Ruth. Looking forward to talking about benefits today.
Learning about the benefits of benefits. Yes,
so,
indeed.
The learning outcome basically tells us overall we need to understand that benefits management is about monitoring benefits realisation throughout the project.
Yeah.
So we've got two learning outcomes within that. The first one is understanding what is meant by benefits management, and it's the process here.
Yeah.
Identification, definition, planning, tracking, realisation. And then the second learning outcome is more about how do we understand the importance of aligning those benefits with strategic objectives and how we can then communicate those benefits out to stakeholders. It would be good to start with a more general discussion about benefits, Ruth, if that's okay.
Yeah, benefits are absolutely vital. Without benefits being delivered by our project, there's no reason to do the project. What is the APM definition of a benefit? Benefits are quantifiable and measurable improvements. Right. And that's so important. They must be quantified and measured and measurable. And they result from the completion of deliverables that are accepted, utilised and perceived as positive by our stakeholders. So the fact that our stakeholders are involved in this, again, is a really important aspect. Just to talk about the relationship between benefits and outputs or deliverables and outcomes on our project, just to make sure that we understand that sequence. So our project delivers outputs or deliverables or products, lots of different terms for that. When those things are put into use, they deliver outcomes. So those are changes that we see from using the new hospital, the new IT system. And then these positive, measurable improvements are what the benefits are.
Right, so it's when we start to put cold, hard figures against it, isn't it, really?
Absolutely. And it's really important for me because benefits will be part of the justification for your project in the business case. And we all know that how much our project is going to cost is going to come down to cold, hard, pounds, shillings and pence, dollars, euros, whatever it is. And so we've really got to have something just as cold and hard to balance that against. It's no good saying, oh, our project's going to cost £1.5 million to deliver and it's going to result in some stakeholder satisfaction. That's not good enough, is it?
It's too woolly, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Ruth. I think that's a good introduction to get us started. So we'll dig in now to the process, so the benefits management process.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got 5 steps within the benefits management process. And the most important thing to say here, and something that we'll come back onto, is the importance of getting stakeholders involved in this process. Because it's not up to the project to say, these are all of the wonderful things that are going to be delivered. Our stakeholders, our users, have to agree that this is what they need and this is what will be delivered and this is how they're going to measure it. So let's have a think about that as we step through this. So the first thing is identification. We need to identify what the potential benefits that this solution, that this project could actually deliver. And again, getting our stakeholders involved with that is really important.
Absolutely.
The next stage then is definition, because these benefits have got to be clearly defined, quantified, measurable, stated in measurable terms, prioritised. And so that definition is really important. And again, stakeholders need to be involved in that, because I might say, I'm going to measure customer satisfaction by doing a survey at the end of the project. But my stakeholder might say, well, that's not my measure of that benefit. So we've got to get our stakeholders involved there. So identification, definition. Third step then is planning. So we need to actually plan in, linking this into our project plans, how we're actually going to deliver outputs that are linked to these benefits. How are we going to make sure that those benefits are actually going to be delivered as part of the solution of our project? One thing to say actually, that our project itself probably won't deliver many benefits within the life cycle of the project unless we're on an extended life cycle. The majority of benefits will be delivered after the traditional end of a project. The
Right.
product will need some time in operation, in use, for
Yeah.
those benefits to be delivered.
So what you've said,
Absolutely.
identification, definition, and planning. To me, that sounds like that's the project manager's job. Those three. Is that
Absolutely,
right?
yes, that's a really good point. So,
Yeah.
although I've been emphasising the need to get your stakeholders involved, it's our project manager that will be driving those activities. Benefits should be in our business case, so we'll be
Hmm.
developing this in a linear life cycle from
Hmm.
concept, but then also drilling down into it in definition as well. And this should
Yeah.
be part of our project management plan.
Thanks.
The next step then is tracking. It's not enough just to say, oh, okay, if we develop this new hospital, this
Hmm.
new IT system, these benefits are magically going to be realised. We need to make sure that we're on track, that
Yeah.
as we're developing the outputs of our project, that we're tracking that they are still capable of
Yeah.
delivering those benefits. We
Yeah.
need to make sure that if any changes are made through a
Hmm.
change control process, that we assess what the impact on benefits may be. We
Yeah.
need to keep an eye on the external project environment because assumptions that we might have made,
Hmm.
situation might have changed as well. So tracking is about making sure that we're still capable
On the
of
right
achieving
track.
these, absolutely on the
Yeah.
right track
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
deliver those benefits. And then the final stage then is realization. This will happen after the end of the
Yeah.
project life cycle in a benefits realization phase. This now has to be the responsibility of our sponsor, of our
Yeah.
end users,
Yeah.
because the project organisation, in most circumstances, will have been disbanded at this point in time.
I was thinking that through when you were talking through it. So tracking is kind of it's a dual thing, I guess, isn't it?
Yes.
So some of it can be done in project, but some of it's got to be done in the extended,
Yeah,
hasn't it?
absolutely. The extended project life cycle is a really good life cycle for making sure that there's that continuity of benefits management right from
Mhm.
identification to realization.
Thanks for that, Ruth. You give a really good explanation of the process. What it's shown me, listening to you to talk it through, is that benefits, it's like a little mini project in itself,
Yeah, yeah,
isn't it? Yeah, and we've got to
absolutely.
shine a light on it to make sure that
Absolutely.
those benefits are realised.
Yeah,
Thanks for that.
the decision about whether to go ahead with a project or
Hmm.
not really should be benefits driven. There's no
Absolutely.
other reason for
Yeah.
doing a project
Yeah. What's
unless
the
it's the
point?
realization of these benefits. What's the
Yeah.
point? It's a
Yeah.
pet project otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
No, I agree. Thanks, Ruth. Thanks for that. So the second half of this learning outcome is to understand the importance of aligning benefits with strategic objectives.
yeah.
And then finally, just to give us some thoughts about how we're going to communicate the project benefits out to stakeholders.
Let's think about then how we align what we're doing on our project with
Hmm.
more strategic objectives, because actually this is really key because the project is a means to an end. It's
Right.
not an end in itself. If we see a really good link between the project environment and
Hmm.
the strategic environment of an organization, that's when actually benefit realization really works and comes into its own. If they're not linked together, if there
Yeah.
isn't more of an organizational capability that
Yeah.
deals with benefit realization, I think that's when you get the situation where we come to the end of the project, things are handed over, and then the sponsor and the users aren't really that bothered about whether benefits get realized or not.
Well, I get what you're saying. It's all about getting people's buy-in, isn't it, really? And,
Yeah.
and people can focus on those benefits. When people are at a low sometimes with projects, why are we doing this?
Yes,
Bring it back
absolutely.
to benefits.
We'll talk in a moment more about stakeholders'
Hmm.
involvement and communication with stakeholders. I
Yeah.
think sometimes if you're so involved in a project, you don't see the transformation. You don't
That's
see
right.
the leap that you've
Yeah.
made, the
Yeah.
difference that you've made with
Yeah.
benefits. It's kind of like watching your child growing. You don't
Yeah.
see day to day that
Yeah.
they're growing, but then you take them to an auntie that sees them once a year, and that, my
Yeah.
goodness, look how much
Yeah.
you've grown.
Yeah.
And I think
Absolutely.
that tracking our benefits, making sure that we take that initial measure at the beginning of the project. What was customer satisfaction on day one of the
Hmm.
project? And really seeing how that has changed has got so much important, not least to uphold the business case and the
Yeah.
justification for doing the project, but also for the motivation of the project team,
Yeah.
for the perception that
Yeah.
stakeholders have of our project. So I think it's really important to link in our project benefit realization with a more strategic benefits management life cycle at an
Yeah.
organizational level.
Yeah, yeah. I really like that analogy as well, Ruth. Thanks. It is the case of when you're in it, you don't realise
Absolutely.
how you're contributing to the greater good. Definitely.
I recently completed a project that was implementing a learning management system, and one of the drivers was about speed of the system, and one of the benefits was about learner engagement and
Yeah.
loading time for content. It wasn't until we went back and said, okay, what was the average load time
Oh,
of the old
right.
system and what's it
Right.
now? It had gone from nearly a minute to less than 2 seconds.
Wow.
And
Wow.
you see that
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
and you realize that actually you have delivered has made a difference.
Yeah. Well, that's a great example of it being it's cold hard facts, but it is what it is. The absolute justification, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important to make sure it's quantified and measurable.
Great example. Thanks, Ruth. Thanks for that. So just the final one we've got to finish off with is about how we can communicate the benefits of a project to stakeholders.
First of all, it's really important to make sure that we involve our stakeholders, that we really consult them to understand this linkage, this mapping between the benefits that our project solution is likely to deliver and
Yeah.
the organisational strategic drivers. Another thing we've got to communicate to our stakeholders is how these benefits are going to be measured, monitored and managed.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
actually we're probably going to be asking for their help in some of that as well. There was that tracking
Yeah.
activity within the benefits management process, keeping stakeholders involved throughout the project, showing this has got better, we're on track to achieve that. Maybe
Yeah.
you can identify intermediate
Right.
benefit measures so that you can
Right.
show that you're on track to achieve that. Helps the engagement of the stakeholders, gets their buy-in, their motivation.
Not leaving it till the end and just saying, "Oh, we've
Absolutely.
done it now."
Absolutely. Because
It's great.
as you're coming to the end of your project, as you're transitioning these outputs into use, then what those end benefits are going to be
Right.
really need to be communicated to stakeholders. This, for me, is where the project sponsor really has to come to the fore. Up to
Right.
this point, project sponsor and project manager have got different roles, but they've got equal responsibility for making sure that all of this has happened, and they really support
Yeah.
each other. But particularly if we're not in an extended life cycle project, now following transition, the project sponsor has got that ultimate responsibility for making sure these benefits get delivered. And so they have to really take over that communication responsibility and also get involved in benefits reviews. And if
Yeah.
we have any more formal audits, maybe internally by our PMO or
Yeah.
by external authorities. If this is public funding, we might have
Yeah.
the National Audit Office come in,
Yeah.
really sharing with stakeholders how well the project's achieved its benefits. And that celebration of success, which sometimes isn't quite there on some projects.
Yeah, we're not very good at it, I think, in the UK, are we? We're not very good at saying, "Well done," I don't
Yeah.
think.
Absolutely. A lot of projects deliver a lot of benefit, and we
Yeah.
really should celebrate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Ruth. I think you've really shone a positive light on benefits management there. That I don't think it gets the attention that it deserves,
I
benefits
agree.
management. It does get kind of, I don't mean neglected, but kind of swept under the carpet sometimes. And then you get to the end of the project and people are like, "Oh, what have we done?" It is really important, like you said, to monitor throughout the project. Even though as a project manager, we won't be involved in the actual realisation, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be doing the identification, the definition, the planning. We should be getting ready for it to make sure that it happens, and communicating out to stakeholders absolutely vital.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the importance of making sure that there is that link with the organisational strategic drivers to make sure that actually we are shining a light on the benefits. We are interested in realising these, that we're not just targeting a project manager on getting these outputs produced to time, cost and quality. It's about, so what? What's then going to be delivered?
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Ruth. I've enjoyed that chat on
Fantastic.
benefits management. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.